So the rope holding has been around for 50 odd years, and we were the first ones to come up with what you now see as the clutch. So with a handle that shuts down and jams the rope. Before that, the America's Cup boats would just be lined up with a load of winches, and they'd be held on the winches. So when the common clutch and jammer came along, it took a lot of weight out and space out of the boat as well. So and was a really good solution. So we categorise the rope holding to 3 different areas. So you've got cleats, clutches, and jammers. Cleats are kind of like the PXR, like the small cleat we do, which is very similar to the cam cleat that you know on dinghies. A clutch is with a handle, so it can be controlled under load, and then the jammer is basically where you've got extremely high loads, and there's a safety feature in there, so when the rope jams on, you can't physically pull the handle out with your hand. So you load it up on a winch, take the load up first, and then you can pull the handle out and release it out. So starting off, we kind of, with the loading, we go up in loads and kind of boat size. So we start off at the smallest size. This is the XAS, which is you'll probably see on things like JATs and smaller boats around kind of up to 30 foot. You can get them on bigger boats, and it depends on the application and kind of the load you're going to get. So you can find the XAS on like 45-foot boats, but it might just be controlling like the pole up and the pole in haul up and down, for instance. It won't be on a halyard or anything like that. Whereas on a JAT, obviously the loads are a lot less, so it can handle those a lot better. The key thing with all the products that we do is basically fresh water. What will happen with any of the products is that you have the lines coming down, and the lines are generally exposed all the time out in the elements, so they're gathering dust, air particles, and all bits of stuff that goes inside the line. And when the line goes down, and obviously the cam goes down onto the rope, it then kind of squeezes everything out of the line as well. So what happens is all the debris and everything ends up inside the clutch. So just a simple hose pipe in there and just wash it out, flush it out, and you'll find that 9 times out of 10 the clutch will work so much better. And it might be because there's a bit of electrical tape caught in there because it fell off the rope or something. And then if you're on a boat, and let's say they're having issues with this one in particular, a common problem is when you close the handle, the cam engages on the line too soon. Okay, and what happens is it's engaged already, and then to get this down, you have to really force it down. And what happens is it puts a lot of pressure through this center pin and through the side fairings, ends up cracking the side fairings, worst case scenario. But the problem with cranking it down really hard is that you then can't open it very well, and you generally got to take the load off the line. To solve that problem, all you do is just put a small amount of cylinder grease into that bearing point there, and then what you're looking for is when the handle comes down, it engages on the cam first before it then goes down, and you'll hear it click down. And that is the way it should work. And like I say, you can see them holding up like that, holds up, and then engages, and then goes down. A very simple kind of rule of thumb with this one. If the owner's having rope holding problems, then the other thing to do is just to check the surfaces of the jaws. So we call this the cam, and we call the bottom part the base. It's just to check those. If they've got a lot of grime in them or a lot of grit or anything that's not come out with the hose pipe, then you just get like a bit of a tough toothbrush and get in there and scrub them out, and a bit of soapy water, and that'll come straight out, and it will improve your rope holding a lot. And you'll be surprised at how dirty these things get, you know, even just after 6 months. All right, so a simple, you know, if you're hanging around on the boat, you know, the owners, you're waiting for the owner or doing anything like that, just have a play with the clutches, and all of a sudden, if the owner comes down and you're washing them out and doing some good stuff, then obviously you're going to get brownie points for that. On from the XAS is the XTS. Now this one you're going into boats kind of up to like 40, 45 foot. Anything bigger, then it won't be on like the heavier loads. Works very, very similar. It's got a cam and it's got a base in it. It looks very similar, but as you see, it's a little bit bigger, and obviously the name is different. Sometimes if the product's really old, the name might have been scratched out a little bit, but the thing to do is just to have a look on the website and you can just see it on your mobile phone exactly which one's which. Also, we have servicing videos for all of these products on YouTube. So the idea is that if you're on a boat over the weekend and they're having problems, you need to take it apart, then you can just watch the video on your phone and then do it there and then. This one, again, a lot of washing out of fresh water, making sure there's nothing stuck inside, making sure this mechanism works, and checking the surface for any polishing. Polishing is basically what happens when the rope is obviously gone through, it's been pulled through the clutch under load, so it's been overloaded, and then what happens, it starts wearing away at the anodizing, and then eventually it gets down to the silver metal, and then obviously it's going to get worse and worse. So that's when you need to replace the cam. All these parts are available any chandleries and stuff, any local chandleries. All our products are designed to slip first. And the reason being is because if you're on an offshore and you've got a couple hundred miles to go, all of a sudden the line starts slipping. It might be because there's something wrong with your line, might be something wrong with the product, it might be something wrong with, you might be overloading it, for example. The reason why it doesn't just hold and hold and hold is because the worst case scenario is you'll snap your halyard. And if you snap your halyard, then you've got nothing to get you home with. So the better thing to do is obviously to let it slip a little bit. Yes, it's annoying, but it will get you home. Okay, so and that's what might happen, you might see on some boats. But to prevent that, you just go through that whole kind of washing or scrubbing out whatever you need to do with the product. The only fault you can probably get with these is if you pull this cam too far back. What you might do is you might pull the spring might pop out. This is a big problem, and it's a full cam replacement because the whole thing is pressed in together in the factory. So if you're finding that this spring's not engaged and it's popped out, you need to purchase a new one of those. Apart from that, yeah, fresh water. Don't do what you've probably seen a lot of people do, and that's go on board and just like spray the whole lot with like kind of lube or some Teflon spray, because the common sense would say, well, the grippy part is not supposed to be slippery. Okay, so if you're spraying the slippery part, you're only going to worsen the problem. Okay, silicone grease, a little bit of silicone grease around just a couple of the moving parts, that's enough. Okay, this problem with sprays, it gets everywhere. And the worst thing is do not use WD-40 on it as well. Okay, WD-40 will degrade the plastic and make it brittle, and eventually it will break, which will have massive consequences with some products. Now we come on to the XTS. We've come up with a different style of surface covering on the cam and the base, and we call it ceramics. It's a ceramic coating, and what it does is a lot better durability than the anodized cam. It works really well on hybrid lines where it's got multiple materials in the line, and it's a lot smoother, and the actual surface is a lot rougher as well. However, if you use that on a typical polyester cover, it will tear it apart. Okay, so if you've got an owner that's potentially upgrade their lines, but they're struggling holding on their standard cam and base, then you can recommend ceramics. Even if you said ceramic might do the job, at least you can go in there and have a look at on a website, or go into the store or talk to those guys and see if that's the way forward or not. Or give us a call. We're open weekdays, not weekends though. So you can actually feel the texture on those. They're slightly different. And then coming on to the bigger boat stuff, which you probably will obviously in the future, you might be soon. Coming on to our kind of XX clutch. We have a number of different styles of XX, so it's come from quite a lot of history with this one. Because it's used at the top end, really high loads, so 1800 for the standard XXA, and then 2,300 odd for the XXB and the XXC, which is that one. So you can see how these ones work. What they have is a different style of operation, and you've got more surface area for the cammed grip on, whereas on these ones you're kind of, because the cam rocks down, you're a bit more point loading, so it offers a lot better clutching, and it uses this quite clever mechanism in there to actually be able to hold those loads and on this style of product with a handle. The problem is with this one is it is used for top-end race boats, so people know what they're doing. But the worst case scenario is if you were on a board like a cruising boat and you had a full-on loads on this one, and then someone just went, oh, and then opened it up with a line wrapped around their leg, it's going to hurt, okay, and take their leg with it. So there is a safety feature. That's why we come on to the jammers in a minute. But with these ones, again, all they require is a good flush out of fresh water. And if you join a boat and they're having clutching issues, 9 times out of 10, again, they probably have someone there who knows what they're doing. But with these ones, they're very distinctive against the other ones. But you start with the handle shut, you open up the handle fully, and then just come to vertical without moving it again. And then you take an Allen key, open up this top bolt, and then you rock it back on the bottom part there, and then we just give it a slight lift, and the jaws will just come out. This one is the XXB. It has ceramic jaws, so it works on technical covers, and it also has tall-on rollers as well, which is it doesn't compress as much as the other ones. This one then can be scrubbed out. You can have a look, check for polishing, all sorts, and then going back in, you keep the handle. If you've moved the handle at any point, what happens is those 2 levers come down and they move. So, and those levers, what they've got to do for this to work, has got to engage on these 2 pins. Okay, so if it's been moved at all, bring it back down to the start, open it fully up, bring it up to vertical and stop. Okay, then this thing with a little wiggle, and then the bottom bit going in first, and then close. It's simple as that. But if you don't do that, it's actually easier when it's bolted down. Let's say you moved it slightly, what you'll see is all of a sudden people trying to ram it in, and all of a sudden you'll see the hammer coming out, and then them starting to hammer it in, thinking it's just stiff. Okay, so you can be the rock star and go, whoa, 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 hang on a second, close your handle, open it up, go to vertical stop, and then just pull it in nicely. Okay, again, we've got videos to show you exactly what to do on these ones if you ever get caught in that situation. Okay, so always do a little bit of homework first before you start taking things apart, because obviously things are quite expensive to other people. Then we come on to the jammers. So these ones are designed as a safety feature, as I was explaining before, that when this is open and then that's closed, when the load comes on, that just then grips harder and harder and harder. And it's got a very similar jaw set to the XX. The thing with this one though is that you have to take the line onto the winch, take the load up on the winch, and then you can pop the jaws open and let the line go down through. It's just because you can have these ones go up to 32 mil rope and up to 12 tons. And if you imagine that kind of load, okay, you've got to know what you're doing. All right, so it's just not a case of going, oh, and just open it up. All right, so so there is that kind of feature in there. We do all sorts. We do like the alloy. We do like the carbon. Yeah, we do a lot of different versions, which I won't go into right now.